Hey there everyone. It's been awake for 24 hours tea here, and today I'm going to try to demystify New York cheesecake for you. It's a relatively simple recipe, but there is a small barrier to entry. You're going to need a 9-inch, non-stick, springform pan. For those of us who are unfamiliar, this is what 9 inches looks like. 9 inches? Not 9 inches. Actual 9 inches? 4.5 inches. The distinction is important. You'll also need any roasting pan large enough for it to sit in. I'll put links to the pans that I'm using in the description for you. Now that we got the tool requirements out of the way, there is one more thing I need to address. We typically can't justify telling you to buy any specific name brand item. Name brands are more expensive, and there are a lot of store brands that actually put out a higher quality product for less money, so we don't call out many products by name. However, this recipe is different. I've tried numerous different cream cheeses for this cheesecake, and the only one that turned out the right way uses Philadelphia cream cheese. The store brands tend to brown on top or stick to the non-stick pan. Philadelphia doesn't do that. So if you want to try to do this recipe, and I believe you should, please use the silver box. In order to complete this, you're going to put a lot of work in, and you will risk putting out an inferior dessert. And I know that's not what you want. You want to make a cheesecake that's silkier than your bed sheets and creamier than the center of your waifu pillow. So come along with me on this journey to enraging the New York dessert gatekeepers on the internet. Now let's jump right into it. The first thing you need to do is take out 5 blocks of cream cheese and 6 eggs. Let them sit on the counter until they're room temperature. It's going to take somewhere between 30 minutes and an hour. Once they're at room temperature, preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Now while the oven is heating up, you're going to take 2 packages of graham crackers, you're going to put them in a Ziploc bag, and you're going to unleash the full fury of your stressful week on them. If you choose to do so, you may put them in a food processor. Either way, you're looking to make graham cracker crumbs. Once they're pulverized, grab 1 stick of unsalted butter and melt it. I threw mine in the microwave for 1 minute. Now go find a large bowl, empty your graham cracker crumbs into it, 1 tablespoon of sugar, the melted butter, and mix them together until they are a grainy consistency that holds together when you squeeze them. Now take that mixture and you're going to press it into the bottom and sides of your springform pan. I like having crust on more than just the bottom, and I know that's not New York style. Well, you're not New York style. Get off my back. Alright, sorry. Once you're happy with how your crust looks, you're going to pop it into the oven on the middle rack for 8 to 10 minutes. After the 8 to 10 minutes is up, you're going to take the pie crust out, place it somewhere to cool, and crank the oven up to 450 degrees Fahrenheit. Then grab a large pot of water and put it on the stove to boil. I used roughly 17 cups. While the water is coming to a boil and the crust is cooling, it's time to address the filling. I highly recommend using a stand mixer with a paddle attachment for this, but if you think you have what it takes and you have a whisk, give it a shot. Now to start the filling, you're going to take your room temperature cream cheese and you're going to beat the dickens out of it. Once it's loosened up a bit, turn off the mixer, grab a rubber spatula, and scrape down the sides and bottom. You're trying to find any little bits of cream cheese that have not been whipped yet and incorporate them. Once you've done that, add 1.5 cups of white sugar and start mixing again. Once it's combined, scrape again. If it's looking light and airy, you're going to go ahead and add 1/2 cup of sour cream and 1 table of vanilla extract. Then give it a twirl. Once it's combined, turn it off again, scrape it again, and we're going to start adding eggs. So turn the mixer on to medium-low speed. During this step, you should add your eggs one at a time. You've seen us do this before. I halfway scrambled my eggs trying to speed up the process and threw them in. It worked all right. I added about 3 of the scrambled eggs, mixed, and then added 3 of the scrambled eggs. Just so long as you're confident all of the eggs have fully combined, you're done with the filling. You don't want to overmix it, so just walk away. Once your crust is cooled, we need to start preparing for the dangerous part of this recipe. I'm going to need you to take some heavy-duty aluminum foil and wrap it around your cooled springform pan. You're trying to create a waterproof barrier, so really get in there with it. Make sure to get that foil nice and high around the edges of the pan. Then, place it in the roasting pan. Alternatively, if you have a 10-inch cake pan or 10-inch sauté pan large enough to put the springform pan in, you may use that. But it also has to fit inside of the roasting pan. I've already asked you to spend enough money on this recipe between the roasting pan and the springform pan. So if you don't have them, the tinfoil is just fine. Regardless of how you tackle it, we're making a water bath, hopefully to prevent the top of your cheesecake from cracking and to help it cook evenly. So now that you have your wrapped pan inside your pan, or your pan inside a pan inside a pan, we've arrived, everyone. We're officially in the danger zone. So get the kids away from the stove, hide your cat, put your dogs outside. Do what you have to do to keep everyone safe, because this is where things can go wrong. I need you to take the pans over to where you're boiling the water and pour the water halfway up the springform pan, and then place it in the oven. You might want to try to hack the system here. You might want to put the pan on the rack in the oven and then pour the water in. Don't do that. I know it seems like it might be a safer option, but one, the mass release of steam from pouring the boiling water into the pan may actually damage your oven. Two, the oven rack is going to be at an angle when you pull it out. If you start pouring water into it, there is a chance it will fall out of the oven onto you, or into the oven. Either way, you don't want that. And then three, you're going to be letting all of the hot air out of the oven. It's going to increase an already long cook time, and it could potentially ruin the cheesecake. So please be very careful. You're going to pour the boiling water halfway up the pan, and you're going to place it into the 450-degree oven for 15 minutes. After the 15 minutes is up, you're going to turn the oven down to 275 degrees, and you're going to cook for another 90 minutes. Do not open the oven during this step, mainly because of rule 3. After the 90 minutes is up, check to see if the center is set. You're going to pull the cheesecake out and gently jiggle the pan. There should be a slight wobble in the center, maybe 2 inches in diameter. Any more than that, and the cheesecake is not ready. If the cheesecake has really commenced the jiggling after a gentle jostle, put it back into the oven for another 15 minutes. Once you've reached the proper cook, take the pans out of the oven and let them rest on top of the stove until the water is room temperature. Some people leave their cheesecake in the oven, turn it off, and leave the door slightly propped open. I have a child running around, and I'm not trying to be the antagonist in a Hansel and Gretel reenactment, so I'm going to leave mine on the stovetop, out of reach. Once the water has reached room temperature, take the springform out and take the foil off. You may have noticed there's a little bit of water inside the foil. It is okay. This is from condensation. It's not your fault. It's the water cycles. At this point, you're going to take the springform pan and you're going to cool it further. I place mine on a wire rack for 30 minutes to an hour, maybe longer if I forget. You can just leave it on the counter. Just don't put it in the fridge yet. You want to get it as close to room temperature as possible before you move on from this step. And if you're feeling pretty confident it's at room temperature, take some plastic wrap, put it over the top, and put it in the fridge. I suggest overnight. Maybe it can set in 2 hours. All I know is if you try to cut a cheesecake before it's fully cooled, you're going to ruin it. And if you're actually following the recipe right now and you put this much effort into it, you're doing great. Keep going. Be patient. It will be worth it. I'm going to assume you made it through the waiting period and now you get to cut your cheesecake. The best way to cut a cheesecake is you're going to take a very sharp knife and you're going to let it sit in hot water. Once the blade is nice and hot, wipe it dry and make one smooth, clean cut, making sure to go all the way down through the crust. I made too many cheesecakes this week. To spice it up, keep it interesting, I'm gonna top this one like a Snickers bar. Some chocolate sauce, some salted caramel, and some peanuts. You can top yours however you'd like. This is your simulation anyways. We just exist in the background of it. And on that note, we need to blend back into the matrix. So if you like what we're doing here, please hit that subscribe button. Comment on the video, like it, share it with everyone, or steal the recipe. It's up to you. If you steal the recipe, I'm proud of you. Honestly, I really am. All I ask in return is that you send us a picture on Instagram or Facebook. That's all. That's all. But that's it for us here. So until next time, be good, y'all. Peace.